All right. Sunday morning again. And I just wanted to talk about. Well, I guess I'll wait for a minute to give people a couple minutes to get in here while I screw around in Mass Effect. But mainly what I'm going to talk about today is kind of just Star Wars YouTube. It's to me it's super annoying the way that people act on YouTube with Star Wars. I don't really the all of the big channels. I don't want to call them shills, but they're very overtly positive and overtly charitable to the point that I think it's not very helpful to Star Wars as a brand. And it's kind of frustrating that, with these big franchises, because people want to like them, they just overlook anything. And the bar now has been set so low that if you just don't come out and insult the fans, there's a very large swath of the fans that will say like Star Wars is back or it's good Star Wars or whatever. So, and it's also annoying for me because, obviously my channel is super small. And really I think it's hard for people who I think it's hard for people to even comprehend how small a channel like mine actually is. Like, if you keep in mind that there's some of these makeup channels, probably numerous makeup channels, or Minecraft channels, or Fortnite channels, political channels, that all have millions and millions, sometimes tens of millions of subs. And there's entire sections of the internet that I'm not even aware of that have these kind of crazy numbers, right? And they're essentially like borderline celebrities at this point. Or maybe you could even say they are like low-level celebrities. And then I'll get dumbass comments in my video. And it's so weird to me. So this happened a lot with Skeleton Crew episode 6. Because I said it was the worst episode so far. Which is obviously what I believe. After a day or whatever, it had 100 views, whatever. It's not a very popular show. My channel is small, so it's not going to get very many views. And, which is fine. I don't care. I'm talking about it because I feel like it. And it kind of is what it is as far as viewership goes. But somehow, even with a channel as small as mine, if it's got 100 views, I'll have 4 or 5 comments that are just people calling me a fucking idiot and saying that I simply didn't understand it. And then they'll also this is the kind of thing that makes me wonder if these big corporations have people whose jobs it is to just find negative coverage on social media. Because hold on one second, I'm trying to. Okay. Because to find a channel that has to find a video that has only 100 views. I mean, not that I'd never see them, but I feel like you kind of have to be looking. And then on top of that, to go out of your way to insult the people who make these channels is fucking bizarre to me. Oh, sorry about that. So these people will come into my channel. This has happened on all kinds of videos. Like, not just Star Wars, but usually it's a franchise that I'm being critical of. Where people will come in and be like, these long paragraphs about how I didn't get it and how stupid I am. And then they'll follow it with like, are you just hate watching and being like pretending to be stupid because you're hate watching? And then they'll also say, oh, well, your video only got insert number of views, and you have whatever number of subscribers I have at the time, right? And it's like, I just, it's hard for me to imagine that there's people who seek out really small channels with opinions they don't like to just insult people because they disagree with them about a show that they like or a movie or whatever the case is. I mean, maybe those people do exist and they're just absolute fucking losers with nothing better to do. But every time I see it, I'm like, huh. Like, you took the time to find a video with, for Skeleton Crew, it was like a couple hundred views, I think. Like 100 views. Write a page of text, a lot of passive aggressive insults, talking about how stupid I am. Many of these things are addressed in the video, by the way. It's usually how it goes, and it does in this case too. And like, that's how you spend your time. Because most people, when they use YouTube, I would imagine, you know, you click a video, probably somebody pretty fairly sizable that you're familiar with. You get recommended, you know, something similar, but usually another large channel, right? YouTube's not putting channels with fucking 1,000 subscribers on the homepage. Like, for the most part, it's going to be, you know, channels that have, I would say, 10K absolute minimum, probably more. And with something like Star Wars, you know, it's dominated by channels like Star Wars Theory and Eckhart's Ladder, Thor Skywalker. I think Emergency Awesome is a pretty big one, even though I'm not sure if they're Star Wars exclusive, but they cover all kinds of nerd shit. So that's the kind of stuff that your feed will give you. So to find videos like mine that are not only tiny, viewership wise, but also disagree with your opinion, I feel like that has to be like a concerted, deliberate effort. I said the same thing about Halo, where it's like, there was one guy I saw comment on like 2 or 3 different channels that were covering the Halo show that were all similar in size to mine. You know, 1,000, couple thousand subscribers, videos getting however many, you know, hundreds or low thousands of views. I don't know. It's just fucking weird, and it's frustrating. It's not frustrating because I care that they insult me. It's just frustrating that, like, my videos are getting seen by retards and shills. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about more broadly is, you know, I find it so frustrating that the Skeleton Crew show, if any of you have seen it, it's just the most bland, generic, inoffensive, kind of nostalgia. Like, it wants to feel like the Goonies in space. Literally every person who's talked about it has said the exact same thing. Like, it's very clear what it's going for. A lot of the plot makes no sense. A lot of the character stuff doesn't really make any sense. You know, if you point out that the characters are really inconsistent and really all over the place, then it hides behind, well, it's a kid's show. Like, almost the way that the Acolyte hid behind, you're a racist or sexist or a homophobe or whatever the fuck, you know, you can't handle strong women in Star Wars, which is only someone who doesn't know shit about Star Wars would say something that fucking stupid. But this is like kind of doing the same thing, except using kids instead of all the ist and phobes and whatevers. So it's really annoying to me that just because the creators haven't come out and said, you know, if you don't like this show, shove it up your ass, that then the Star Wars YouTubers, who are all the big ones, are covering every episode really positively. And, you know, the comment sections are littered with people being like, this is the second best live action Star Wars we've gotten behind Andor. Or, you know, third best behind Mando and whatever. And Ahsoka. Like, I just can't believe the bar for Star Wars has fallen so low that the creators literally just don't come out and tell the fans that they're pieces of shit and write diss tracks that people will defend it as good. And the reality is, and I say this a lot with stuff that I think people are defending but don't actually believe, is my guess is in, oh, well, not usually I say like 2 or 3 months, people will have completely forgotten about it. Skeleton Crew didn't even make the top 10 of the originals on Nielsen. No one even cares enough to forget about it. But I think even the people defending it will completely have moved on, like literally the day after the finale. This is not a show that will be talked about. It's not a show that it's not a show that people will reference or aspire to. Based on the viewership, I'd be shocked if it got a season 2, right? Like, it's not a show that anyone cares about. Everything about it strives for safety and mediocrity. And yet these channels with millions of subscribers are defending it, and their fans are eating it up. And I don't think anyone's ever, like, usually the gauge that I use for how good is something is, will people watch it, more than once? Right? Like a movie like, and that isn't, obviously it's not 100%, right? There's terrible movies that you can watch over and over because they're easy to watch. And there's really great movies that you might never want to watch again because they're depressing. This would be like a Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan. Like, there's definitely a certain type of movie that is great. You watch it once and then just never watch it again. And I've got plenty of those. I think it's a good movie, but I don't really want to watch it again. Joker for me is that way. I watched it in theater, thought it was really good. Haven't watched it since. And then at the same time, there's movies that, like, most movies for me are fine. I don't find them offensive. I don't find them great. I'm like, yeah, it's, whatever. Like Craven, as bad as that movie was fine to watch once. I wasn't like pissed off that I saw it. I was just kind of like, yeah, not a good movie, but it's fine. It wasn't, there wasn't anything. There was some decent stuff about it with the fighting, a lot of terrible stuff with the dialogue and the editing, and you move on. Never watch it again. Maybe put it on one night when I'm going to bed to fall asleep to. And that's sort of where most stuff falls in for me, which is fine, right? Like Skeleton Crew is one of those shows that I'm like, you know what? I watched it once. It is what it is. So be it. Like, I'll never watch it again. I'll completely forget about probably the entire plot in about 2 weeks. Once I've, if I even bother making a full season video for it, I might make a short one. But the sorry, I was trying to pick a weapon here. But yeah, it's I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Being like, yeah, it's not great, but I enjoy it. Whatever. Who cares, right? I think what annoys me is just people sucking the dicks of these shows as if they're just awesome. Like, pretending like this is peak Star Wars. And you guys, I mean, I'm sure you guys see this shit too if you're online. Like, every single show, you'll have like that whole faction of people who's like, oh my God, this is the best Star Wars has ever been. I don't know. I just find it really frustrating because, people who I think are being honest, like myself, and being like, yeah, there's some stuff that's fun in the show and some that's fucking terrible, a lot that makes no sense. Jude Law's having a great time. The kids aren't the best actors. Like, we're the ones who get shit on and then also like I get insulted and called a grifter while also being insulted and I'm saying my stuff sucks and I get no views because I'm retarded. And then, meanwhile, you have people like, well, I'm not going to specify, but all the big Star Wars channels just sucking off every episode, getting a shitload of views, which is fine. I really don't care about viewership as much as, I don't want to say they're being dishonest. I think people should also keep in mind that they have a financial incentive for Star Wars to be good. Like, I mean, Star Wars Theory has talked about this openly. That, his channel when he used to do fanfic stuff, because that's actually what made his channel big, was like a what if Qui-Gon had beat Darth Maul, what would have happened to Anakin? Like fun stuff. I think neat stuff to think about, especially if you're a Star Wars fan. And his channel got huge. I think he has 4 million subscribers that way. But he's talked about how now he's essentially been forced into a position where he kind of has to cover the meta and the, gossip type shit. The, what are the directors saying about the fans and Star Wars and how stupid they all are. And he's talked about openly, like, if I make a fanfic video now, even with as many subscribers as I have, it'll get 20,000 views, 30,000 views. So I think what annoys me is, on one hand, they're like defending these shit shows and not really kind of expecting better. But then they're also acknowledging that, like, the Star Wars brand, if you want to call it that, has essentially been ravaged. And at a minimum, the brand has shifted into something that it never was originally. So, I wonder. Let me just check something real quick. So, God damn it. So it's just really frustrating to me that they're kind of talking out both sides of their mouth. And I don't know. Like, it just feels like they don't really get called out for it. People just support it. And I don't. I've talked about it like a million times. Like, what is the future of Star Wars? Like, these people are essentially getting rich off of a dying brand, praising it while it's dying. And I don't think it's deliberate. I don't think they're just like, oh shit, I need to defend everything Star Wars. But, people rationalize what's best for them. That's just human nature. I mean, there's a reason that a doctor will fucking rationalize that you need every type of medicine under the sun that they conveniently get kickbacks for prescribing. So, I don't know. The whole thing I just find really frustrating because even if just the handful of YouTubers that I mentioned were to start just being more honest, I think that might actually result in some kind of change for Star Wars. And not that YouTube like dictates what fucking Disney does or anything like that, but just the fact that like the biggest voices being critical, I think would make a difference. I mean, God damn it. Hey, what's up, Mr. Divine? My fucking game freeze. Son of a bitch. I guess I have to restart that shit real quick. That's annoying. Give me 1 second here. Yep. Motherfucker. Um, Mr. Divine says, too many hands in the cookie jar. Crazy how Warhammer books or some of the Star Trek expanded media could work. Maybe Star Wars just needs one writer like George. I don't know. Well, see, that's the thing that I think makes Star Wars interesting as a property. Also, is you can he did sort of hand out a lot of freedom to a lot of authors. And I think that's a pretty cool way to expand your universe if you give some kind of oversight and hardline rules. Because, one person, when you're talking about a universe of the scale of Star Wars, I mean, just both like time-wise and idea-wise, is not going to be able to come up with everything that you could think of for Star Wars. Like, you're just not. So I don't think there's anything wrong with allowing a lot of authors to do their own type of story around different parts of the galaxy, and then George just wants to run the main Skywalker story. I totally get that, like the logic there. Is this serious? The fuck is going on with this game? Oh, there we go. So that component I totally get, but now I think the issue is that it's been, well, there's a ton of issues, but one of which is it's just been completely corporatized, and the people who are being allowed to expand on it don't give a shit about it. So, if you have a bunch of people who care, like for instance, Gears of War, the Gears of War books, right? They had they had Karen Travis do the first 5 books, and these books took place between Gears 1 and 2. No, I think there's one that takes place before Gears 1. There's one that takes place before Gears 1. There's one that takes place between 1 and 2. And then there's and then there's a bunch. I think there's 3 that take place between Gears 2 and 3. And she was kind of the sole person for that. And then so I'm having to restart this damn level because the game froze up. And then for the after books, or like the stuff that took place after Gears 3, you got a mixture of authors, which, fine. Like I didn't have any issue with that. I thought that was a fine way to do it. Mass Effect was kind of similar. They had a bunch of different authors, or they had one guy do a trilogy, and then I think maybe Dietz did the 4th book. I can't remember now. It's been a while since I read those. I think Drew Karpyshyn did the first trilogy. He did the Darth Bane trilogy, actually. And then I think William C. Dietz, who wrote The Flood for the Halo books, did the 4th book in Mass Effect. And then they had people do the comics. They had people do different books, like different authors for Andromeda. They were okay. They were serviceable, I would say. Not great. But I was, my whole point was, before I started rambling there, was I don't think you necessarily have to have one person run one vision and whatever. But you do need one person in charge to oversee everyone else and to make sure that they're not turning the franchise into all kinds of different things that you don't want. And I think that's where Star Wars is really failing. Like, I think the idea of a Western style like Mando can fit completely fine with a Goonies style story like Skeleton Crew, but they both need to be in sync, at least in the world building, and then the stories can be totally separate. Because when you're talking about a galaxy of stories, you're gonna have, for all intents and purposes, infinite stories, infinite people. And there's a ton of freedom there to do kind of whatever you want, as long as you don't break some core rules and timelines and that sort of thing. Mr. Devine says, if Tolkien, Herbert, Lewis could build and expand the universe, why can't we do it today? I know, like Tolkien, that was his like life's work, right? And Herbert and Lewis, Lewis I think did a bunch, but because his stories were a little bit shorter. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But I don't know if you read Star Wars or not. There's like 150 books and even more comics and like all kinds of shit, which I don't think a single person could do. Like just timeline wise and idea wise. Jay says it's a zombie controlled by Disney. The soul is gone. We only have the memories. Well, that's what's weird too, is Disney almost seems to acknowledge that with all the nostalgia bullshit they do. And then at the same time, they shit all over it. It's a really weird thing that they're doing to try to keep a franchise going and moving it forward. Mr. Define says, do you believe in the Walt Disney head theory? That's the cryo shit, right? Where he put himself in cryo and he wanted to come back when we had the technology or something. Yeah, that's funny shit. But yeah, the whole reason I even started this rambling was because I don't know. These big channels could simply disagree. They could love the Skeleton Crew. I just wish they would be a little bit more critical in general. Because I feel like if they were critical in a constructive way, that it might actually result in some kind of improvement over Star Wars. Because look, Jesus Christ, Disney and Lucasfilm on their end, all they see is numbers, right? They don't see, like, they see, like, okay, we paid this much, it got this many viewers, it's worth the investment. And this is often what leads to shit where, like, you get a massive drop off for a second season or the next movie or whatever the case is, because while it might have gotten viewership, if everyone hated it, then no one's going to watch it again. So, I don't know. I just find the whole thing irritating. And I find it annoying that, like, people like me who want to see Star Wars get better are the ones who essentially get trashed for being honest. While people who are making a living, and often a very good living, off of Star Wars will just suck it off. Like they'll just suck it off. And then people just keep eating it up. And it's like, what the fuck are we doing here? Anyway, that was kind of just me bitching. I just wanted to talk about that because the viewership I honestly don't care about. I have a regular job. This is a hobby for me. Honestly, the fact that I'm even approaching 1,000 subscribers, I never expected. So to me, it's all just a bonus. Start sucking. Jay. Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, the thing that's funny is, I might just be a shitty content creator. But like, I'm pretty sure that my most viewed video, because I don't ever look at I try not to look at my views. I try not to look at any analytics because I don't want to become concerned with that kind of thing. And I would be worried that if I started looking at that stuff, that it would influence how I have my opinions and make my videos and that sort of thing. And I don't want it to do that. Like, I want my opinions just to be what they are. But I think my most viewed video is Godzilla -1, which I was highly positive about. And I think it got like 20. I don't know. I think it was like 23,000 views, but then the last time I looked a couple of months ago, it was at 20,000. So for some reason, it deducted a few thousand, and that was after the movie's been out for like a year. So I was guessing that it might be more like 25 just because, but it went way down. So I don't know what the fuck's going on with YouTube and their video counting. But like the thing that irritates me is I'm essentially being punished in both viewership and the comments for being honest. So I had to deal with people insulting me, also calling me a liar, also calling me a grifter, and then I don't really get any views because I'm saying what I think is the truth that people don't want to hear. Not to like fucking pat myself on the back, but you know what I mean. It's just I don't know. And then at the same time, all the ones with influence, because they're defending this shit, are helping more of it get made. Or they're at least lowering the bar for their audiences, which are huge. Um Sorry, I was reading these emails because I downloaded these mods for Mass Effect, and this is the first time I've ever played them, so I'm getting all these emails that I've never seen before. So, oh, Mr. Divine says, "Quit your job and just focus on YouTube." Yeah, yeah. What a fucking life that'd be, huh? I actually don't even know how many subscribers people usually get before they can do YouTube full time. Jay asked if I want a pat on the back, and it's a hint for all of them to start sucking. No, should I do the YouTube shill thing? Share this with all your friends. Put it out there. Post it on social media. Help spread the word. This is your boy, Filthy Casual. Yeah, see, so there's a lot more. If I don't know if any of you guys actually have the screen on, you probably don't because I'm just playing Mass Effect 2, which is 15 fucking years old at this point. But part of this mod, like one of the mods that I installed, is that if you have the spacer background, because in that one your mom is alive and she contacts you in the originals, like I think once in Mass Effect 2, once in Mass Effect 1, and maybe once or twice in 3. And with this mod, she's emailing a lot more now. You're getting a lot more contact between you, Anderson, and her. Anyway, so yeah, it's all I don't know. It's just one of those things that I was thinking about. Like I'm reading these people just leave these page long comments about what a fucking asshole I am and all this shit. And then I go over to Thor Skywalker or Star Wars Theory, Eckhart's Ladder, whoever, right? And every single one of their comments is like, "Oh, Skeleton Crew's so good. The characters are so deep. Oh yeah." Just sucking a big fucking Star Wars Disney mouse dick. All right. I'll leave that alone for now. Let's see, who should I recruit next? I need Jack, Grunt, and Garrus. I guess Garrus is probably the favorite, huh? Um. So yeah, I'll leave that there because I've just been bitching for like half an hour now. And at the end of the day, I don't have to make YouTube videos, right? So I guess I shouldn't complain too much. But so yeah, beyond that, I wanted to talk about the Halo Fall of Reach book because Tyler, who's also a member, and he's usually in chat sometimes. Well, frequently, let's say. Was talking about reading the Fall of Reach book, and he was like, I have no idea what's going on in the prologue. Which, fine. It's the first chapter, right? But the first chapter is a big ass battle, and he's never played Halo. Which is crazy, but his prerogative, I guess. And I was just thinking about the Fall of Reach book, and it just bums me out so much every time I think about the fucking Halo show. And I was thinking about it again when I made my New Year's video where I covered, the 2024 media, like the stuff that came out. Because I think people forgot that the Halo show came out in 2024. Because it came out in like February. And even the people that I watched that all talked about like their best and worst, I don't know if I heard a single one of them mention the Halo TV show. Because and that's what I mean, right? Right, like when I talk about bots, if you go to the Halo TV subreddit, it's only a couple thousand people. And you know what? Maybe they're real, right? Maybe the people just love the Halo show. They like seeing Master Chief's ass. I don't fucking know. They like that Pablo Schreiber comes out and says, if you don't like it, don't watch. Or if you want the Chief to wear a helmet, don't watch. And just be a smug prick. Maybe that's what they're into. But that subreddit was filled every single day with a thread along the lines of, is it me? Is it just me, or is the Halo TV show really good? Or is season 2 a lot better? Right? Meanwhile, no one fucking watched. And the thing that I think the book does, and this is what I wanted to talk about, that the show creators, let's face it, they don't give a fuck about Halo. And they weren't talented enough to do this, even if they did. Clearly. Fucking scrubs. Is the way that the books work is John has a personality and he has morals, but his personality is very stoic, even in the books. Which, he's a child soldier, lifelong military, right? Seen God knows how many people die in Planet's class and all that shit. So he would have to be stoic at that point. But what the book does, or what the books do, in general, is surround him with people who do have personalities and interesting backstories. They have opinions, like on the Spartans and the world and the war, where John is more just like, I am a soldier. Like, it's my duty to save humanity. Because even in the books, and this is a minor spoiler if Tyler listens to this, the Spartans were originally created to help save humanity from like galactic civil war because of the insurrectionists, and you had the core planets and the insurrectionists, which is essentially the inner and outer colonies, right? And you get Fred, who kind of has a sense of humor about the whole thing, but he's also fun, and you find out that he maybe could have been the best Spartan, best, like, number one in all their tests and exams and stuff, but he didn't want to because he didn't want the attention. But at the same time, he's super loyal to John. Like, all the Spartans are really tight-knit. You have Linda, who's a little bit more of a loner. She kind of does her own thing. She's a bit more reserved. But again, like, they all look up to John. They all have connections with each other. They showed this in the movie, the animated movie, when, well, I don't want to say who dies, but, it's a fucking galactic war. Obviously, people die. And one of the characters in the movie says, thank God that we have helmets on. Because essentially, the character didn't want other Spartans to see her crying. right? So, like, there's a lot there that you can do, and even in the games, you have Captain Keyes, who's very honorable, very in control, very in command. Sergeant Johnson has a ton of personality. Like, you don't have to make um you don't have to make every character super interesting and emotional. Exactly. And that's kind of what I was getting at, Mr. Divine. Mr. Divine says, I think the issue for an adaptation is that Master Chief can't be the focus of the show. He's the strong silent type and he's a supporting cast. He only talks to Arbiter once in the whole trilogy. Yeah, I know. That's a funny thing to notice. But that's what I'm saying is I think a talented writer would have made that work. Because, I think that takes a skill to do. To surround your main character with people who are interesting and kind of just always have things going on, but not necessarily from the person driving the story. And really, I mean, what's driving the story to a big extent is the war, right? Like military decisions, military brass. You have no choice but to respond to an attack. It's not like some personal journey that he's necessarily going on. So that was exactly the point that I was getting at, Mr. Divine, is that you could make a story focused on Miranda, focused on Captain Keyes, Linda, Kelly, Fred, Sam. Later on it's Kurt. And the Master Chief is just kind of the badass. I mean, in a way, this is almost what Attack on Titan does with Levi and Mikasa. Levi and Mikasa, I mean, they still have personality and they are interesting characters with goals. But most of the reason people like them is because they just fuck shit up. Like they're maybe the two biggest badasses in the show. And where a lot of the personality really comes from is Aaron, obviously. And then you have plenty of supporting cast in that show, which it's unusual how good that show is. I think it's like maybe the best. But like, you get my point that you can have a character who their purpose is just fuck shit up. And even then, the Master Chief does have opinions. He's just not, he's also a soldier. So his opinions at the end of the day kind of don't matter. And that's also what leads to like one of my favorite parts in the Halo books. I'm pretty sure I've talked about this before on stream. In First Strike, which is the third book. So for people who aren't that familiar with Halo, the first book is the predecessor to the Halo game, Combat Evolved. The second book is The Flood, and it expands on the game, so you get more of the side stories, more of the characters, more of what's going on outside of what you see in the game. Because it's a first-person shooter, obviously, so you're limited to what Chief does in the game. And in First Strike, there comes a point where Master Chief has to make a decision about should he turn over this data that will lead someone that he cares about to getting brutally experimented on, and there's like a 1 in a billion chance that it actually works for the purpose that they need it for, or should he just say, I'm not going to sacrifice this person for something that almost has no chance of working? And the whole reason this conversation is significant is because, up to this point, he's a child soldier, like I said. He's been raised and essentially bred, genetically modified to believe like the ends justify the means. So if you have to sacrifice a few soldiers to win a battle, you fucking do it. I mean, that's the entire logic behind the Spartan program to begin with. Is, you know, we're going to sacrifice these 150 kids for humanity. Like that's the reasoning that they go with. And I could see a military making that decision. But, when you come to an individual level like that, I think it makes it a lot more interesting. And again, this will be a spoiler because his initial reaction is, of course, like if there's any chance that this can save humanity, sacrificing a single person is absolutely worth it. And that, like right away, that's his gut reaction. And then as that story goes on and he has more conversations with Halsey, he has more time to think it over. He's like, well, maybe I should be trying to save everyone and not just immediately sacrifice people as soon as I have the chance. And I try to rationalize it or justify it. So I think it's a really interesting, like, moral thing that you bring into Halo. And there's no way that any of that stuff could ever get covered in the TV show because of the way that it's presented. And also they were far too inept for that. I don't know if I'm in the minority on this. I would have been completely fine with seeing his face, especially if they had started him like the way that the Fall of Reach book goes. They're recruited when they're 5 or 6 years old, so obviously he's not walking around in fucking armor at 5 years old, right? So if they had gone that route with it and done, like you see him as a kid, you see him as teenagers, and then you see him become Master Chief, it wouldn't have bothered me to see his face. And in some ways, I don't know how pragmatic it is to even try to do that. Like, especially when you're not going to have them fighting like the entire duration of a season for multiple seasons. So I would have been completely okay with it. But the way that it was done, and I think people don't even mention this anymore. Well, no one mentions the show anymore, so I guess that's why. But part of the issue is the way that it was done in the show was that Quan, who's a rebel, is threatening him with a battle rifle pointed at his face. And he wants her cooperation. And instead of just taking the fucking rifle and wringing her neck, he takes his helmet off. And he's like, if you want to shoot me, then shoot me. And it's like, oh, so you're a fucking idiot. And then he gets lectured by like a 19-year-old girl into rethinking his ways or whatever bullshit. I mean, obviously it goes off the rails after that. It was a horrendous show. But yeah, just Tyler bringing up that book. Mr. Devine says it's his favorite scene. Yeah, just Tyler bringing up the book and me thinking back about the show and just what a wasted opportunity it is. And I just don't know, like, how much hubris do these people have that they just cannot accept that a story was told a specific way and it's popular. So just fucking do it again. Like, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to have some, groundbreaking fucking story or earth-shattering revelation for the story or the world. Just tell it like it is. If you read it and you honestly feel like, it could use a little bit more of a developed character here, or maybe an original character would slot in here for this purpose, that would make complete sense. But to just throw out the bathtub and bath water and then fucking start from the beginning, and the baby, and then just start from the beginning. I just don't fucking understand it, and it makes me think that these corporations, like, do we just get lucky with good stories and games? Because they seem just completely like they just don't understand what makes something liked, what makes it popular, why they made fucking money on it. You know, I just it's just crazy to me that they just keep pissing away like hundreds of millions of dollars. Oh, there it is. On shit that sucks because they're trying to do something that was unnecessary. Like they're making more work for themselves, making the fans like furious with them, and then also losing a shitload of money. I just don't fucking get it. And it's crazy to me that these people are making God knows how many millions a year. This is a mod, by the way, for people who are familiar with Mass Effect, that you can get Legion way earlier. So if you play the original game, it won't go this way. Just FYI. But yeah, I mean that was mainly what I wanted to talk about today. Let's see, it's been just under an hour. I guess I can try to squeeze in I can try to squeeze in Garrus's recruitment mission and then probably call it. Mr. Divine says it's not the corporation who's out of touch, it's the fans. Yeah, exactly. It really is just like that fucking meme. Like it's not me who's out of touch, it's the kids. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes thinking about like the state of media is just such a bummer. Cuz it's like I mean, is there any franchise that anyone is even hopeful about being remotely good in the future? I would have to think not, right? Like I'm trying to think of one now. Like what franchise am I like optimistic that things will go well for in the future? I mean, Lord of the Rings, to be fair, like the peak was obviously going to be the movies pretty much no matter what. But it still could have been like a fun, good franchise. Instead, I haven't watched Rings of Power. It seems like everyone fucking hates it, and almost no one's watching it because it sucks. The War of the Rohirrim, obviously, I made a video on. I thought it sucked a big dick. You know, Star Trek. Again, I've never watched Star Trek. People seem pretty fucking down on it, which you know, I get. I mean, if it's gone anything like the way of Star Wars or everything else, I totally understand. Obviously, I've been shitting on Star Wars forever. Halo is just in a fucking disastrous state right now. Primarily because of the games, but the show didn't help. I mean, that's for damn sure. And it doesn't seem like they have any even direction of where they need to go. Hey, what's up, Tyler? Hungover? Nice. Good start to the new year. Well, week and a half in, but still. Um, Jay says he finished Far Cry 6 yesterday. Terrible story and characters. Now Jay's trying to ask if he's out of touch or if it's the kids. Because he said it's a terrible. He said, "Do the kids like this trash?" And for some reason, Mr. Divine is jealous of Tyler's hangover. I've never been jealous of a hangover. I tell you that shit. Um, Tyler says he's in chat. He's in bed in chat. Nice. Mr. Divine's jealous. He doesn't have I guess he didn't have an excuse to go out last night and party. Yeah, I actually one of my goals for this year is to not drink at all. So presumably I'll have a hangover list 2025, which should be nice. And in theory, I'll lose some fucking weight. My real goal is to do a face reveal and just turn into a YouTuber who does zero video editing, sits in front of the camera, and just cranks out videos. To me, I think that's the dream, right? Oh, nice. Tyler went out to karaoke. See, if I didn't know you were an opera singer, I would think that you were a redneck. Mr. Define says, "No, I'm gonna get drunk when I hit 1K." Nah. Now my goals are to, well, to not drink, but also to get under 200. I'm at like 215 right now. Jay says filth rodic. I think I feel like when you do a face reveal after you haven't shown your face for a long time, I mean, can it be anything but disappointing? Like, yeah, exactly. Mr. Divine says you already know what I look like because my profile. So Sammy ruined it for me just based on a description in Discord. I don't think I would ever do. Oh, I won't say I would never do one. I think if I was, I don't know. I don't know what it would take. Maybe if I thought that I could actually make a living on YouTube, I would consider it. Like at that point, why not, right? Because, you know, whatever. I mean, it actually would make less work for me. Because there's people like a heel versus babyface and Nerdrotic who sit in front of the camera. I would think that has to make your editing way fucking easier. Especially because I'm. Mr. Divine says he'll give me $10. No, I thought about it before. I actually did a poll a few months back. I don't know if you guys remember. I'm sure you do. Because I was considering doing because I was trying to figure out how to stop getting these copyright strikes. So I was saying I could do a face reveal, or I could start just showing my face in the videos, or nothing, or an avatar. And people voted that I just go back to what I was doing. So, you know, you guys decided. Although the face reveal, I'm not sure if I would have done it even if you had voted for it, because I don't think anyone would really try to like dox me or come after me. Actually, you know what the poll was to get rid of the avatar. Was the result? That's what it was. Because I joked that I made it. I have a live stream that's called like "Chat Thinks I'm Ugly" because I think no one voted for a face reveal. Like it was like partially for the avatar, and then partially. Well, the vote that won was to just go back to the standard, which is fine. Honestly, the avatar was a bit of a pain in the ass, and I don't know for these live streams how much it impacted like the, if there was more like frames being dropped and stuff. I mean, especially now that I'm playing Mass Effect on the computer, because before I was running my Xbox through the screen and just using a capture card, and this Mass Effect is actually running through the PC, so it's already putting quite a bit more strain on it. Mr. Divine wants me to go back to the Shiba. Yeah, this is a pseudo democracy, and you lost. But as far as, I guess, in all seriousness, as far as showing my face, I think I would have to get to like, I don't know. If I was making like a decent amount of money a month, enough that I would consider this like a part-time job, I'd probably do it. Because at that point, like, why not? But as long as it's just a hobby and I actually need my day job, there's not really a reason for me to put anything out there and risk myself. I mean, obviously the odds of, someone seeing this who knows me are super low. But I also don't know how easy it is to find someone once their face has been out there. Especially because my face has been in like news articles and stuff. So if you ran a screenshot and a like whatever Google Google Lens or whatever, like a reverse image search, like, yeah, I think you'd probably find me pretty easily, actually, or at least my name. And then once you have my name, I mean, it wouldn't take much time to find out where I work and all that type of thing. So, yeah, I wouldn't anticipate a face reveal anytime soon. Um, it's really it's not that I care about what people think about how I look. It really is the Mr. Divine says he's writing it all down. It really is for me just the idea of being doxxed. I don't know if it would happen. I don't know what the likelihood is. Jay says news articles is that what they're called these days. No, actually my I don't know how much I should say. Because if I say what happened, you might actually be able to find the articles that I was in. So I probably shouldn't say. But I was in news articles for something related to my wife a while ago. So, and then my actual name, if you knew it, I was also in news articles because I used to work for the USGS as a seismologist. And part of my job was to give interviews to like local news stations and that sort of thing. So at that point, you could easily find those news articles even with just my full name. Tyler says that Mr. Divine, Jay, and him are all going to show up at my door. Well, you know what? If Jay shows up from Japan, I'll let him come in. I'm not sure where the other two of you are located, though. Or if you're even in the country. I just assume everybody's American because, that's what Americans do. Just attribute everything to being in America and then act surprised when it's not. But oh, Mr. Divine's in California. Well, you're across the country from me then. Yeah, I'm in South Carolina. I don't care to say that much. It's a big state. But, and plus, there's plenty of bald white guys here. So I can blend. Mr. Divine says that he needs friends because I'm not making it easy. Oh, that's nice of you, Jay, to take your shoes off. Very cultured. Oh, Tyler's in Chicago. Okay. Well, shit, you guys probably have a pretty easy direct flight then, huh? I mean, between you two, at least. Well, I guess it depends on where Mr. Divine's at in California. If he's in LA, you guys should have no problem. Plenty of white bald men in South Carolina, exactly. So even if you came here, the odds of picking me out are not great. But I mean, some people don't care. Like Ryan Kennel for RK Outpost. Oh, you're an hour and a half drive. Okay, from LA. I got you. So you're probably like 5 miles from LA then. Like Ryan Kennel, he just went with his own name and showed his face right away. I'll post an audition in the area. Tyler and Mr. Divine are going to wander around South Carolina just screaming filthy casual until I make an appearance like I'm some kind of Bloody Mary type ghost or some shit. Yeah, I thought that was interesting that Ryan Kennel said it. He was like, yeah, I figured, fuck it, I'll just show my name and face, and then I don't ever have to worry about being doxxed. But I think I'm going to call it here. I was going to try to fit another mission in, but it's already been over an hour, and that mission takes me like 45 minutes. Yeah, Beetlejuice. Jay said that the feet pics that I sold in college are my downfall now. Well, to be fair, if I showed myself on screen, you wouldn't see my feet. So, it would just be my face I'd have to worry about. But my face would actually, I'm almost certain it would show up in a reverse Google image search. Jesus, I butchered that. In a reverse Google image search. Because my wife was in the news. So, luckily when I was with the USGS, my face was never in the news. So that wouldn't be a thing. But, yeah. But my name would, for sure. Like if you literally just search my name and then USGS, it would absolutely come up. But, all right, I'm going to wrap it up here. Go eat. I'm hungry. You guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. Hopefully I'll be here next Sunday. I don't know if there's a reason that I wouldn't, but, it's always hard to say what comes up. Especially when I'm not like a rigid stream every week type guy and, or contractually obligated like Hassan Piker or somebody. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. As far as videos, Mr. Divine, I'll probably watch your movie tomorrow if I'm not too tired after work. The video, I'm not sure when that'll be. Skeleton Crew finale is Tuesday. I'm going to try to get that video out Wednesday. Unfortunately, I don't have Disney Plus, so I'm having to wait for it to be uploaded elsewhere to watch. But yeah, I don't have any major plans right now. Slowly going through Hunter x Hunter now that I'm back at work. Trying to get caught up on some Korean shows with my wife. Got like a million books that I pre-ordered that I haven't even fucking opened on my Kindle yet. You know how it is. There's just never enough time. Anyway, all right. I'll see you guys later. Have a good one.